Hey guys, and welcome to my Thursday talk. Thursday talk. The title of the blog today is How I Miss the Simple Questions. I think most parents are probably familiar with the flood of questions that children have. Just wonderful, fun questions about life and their existence, and many times you're just backed up into a corner because you don't have all the answers to their many questions. I used to have so many funny and wonderful conversations and with my twins, and they had so many questions that I really it was like a full-time job sometimes, I think. Um, and even when I couldn't even answer anymore, and I said like, "Sorry, sweetie, I don't know," and then the question that followed immediately was, "Why don't you know everything, Mom?" So, well, that's kids for you, right? And of course, it's no different with Ayer. I mean, he asks all those funny questions too. But the difference between him and the twins is that he also asks a lot of tough questions. I mean, he was only 4.5 when he was diagnosed with Duchenne, and obviously he didn't really have uh, full understanding of everything that entailed or what that meant for him. But as he has gotten older, of course, many questions have arisen within him, about Duchenne and all that stuff. So that kind of made start when that started to happen, things got a little bit more complicated. Like this one time, he asked me even if it was dangerous for him to have Duchenne or if he could even die from having Duchenne, and that really, really was a devastating and heartbreaking moment for me as a mom. And I really had to dig deep and just to keep myself together and not break down and cry in front of him. And I'm pretty sure any parent can understand that pain that comes with that question. It just was so heartbreaking to me that, him being so young, even thinking about things like that. For me, I think kids at that age, I mean, I don't remember exactly how old he was. He was very young, maybe 6 or 7, I don't know exactly, but I felt like kids that age really shouldn't be thinking about anything like that. They should just be thinking about having fun, just forgetting about forget themselves and all the silly things um, that childhood is really, and only worry about the next prank they're gonna do or something. But somehow I managed to gather my strength and just I was able to explain it to him in a kind of a general way. And I tried to focus on all the positive stuff rather than going into too much detail. I just talked about how the doctors were trying to find medicine that would help him. And, life in general is like this: people die, people get sick, everyone can die even tomorrow. And you just kind of, I didn't go into very much detail, just try to talk about it in general a little bit. And he just, for him, it wasn't that tough. But for me, I was like, afterwards, I just, all the emotions came and really just, I broke down and wow, it felt so good to cry. Let me tell you, that was a huge, but having that kind of conversation with your child is something that, well, for me, it was one of the most difficult things that I've ever done. But I feel like I have to tell you, well, I feel like it's so important that when these questions do come up, like for us rare disease parents, it's so important to answer as honestly as you can. And obviously, of course, in accordance to the, well, age appropriately, really. And I think it's never a good thing to try to hide something from your kids. And they just sense it if you're not honest, and they won't trust you anymore, and that's not a good thing. You don't want that. So even though the questions are difficult, I think you really have to try to answer it and talk about these issues. You don't have to go into, like I said, much detail. Simple is always the best way with kids. Like with all things in regards to kids, simple is the best way to go. And you really have to think about, like for me, I didn't want Aya to be going on the internet and Google everything about Shan. That's not the way that I wanted him to figure everything out and get his information from, because I didn't trust myself to take that conversation with him. So that's kind of why I wanted to be direct and answer him in the best way that I could without telling him too much, obviously. And a funny thing about kids also is they really don't dig so deep into everything like we do. They don't really. They think on a whole other level. I think just as soon as I answered, he just said okay, and he went back to playing or talking about something else, and I was like, whoa, okay. For me, it was huge, and it took a long time just to put myself together again, and for him, it didn't even seem to be an issue, just like every other question, and then life just goes on, and that's the wonderful thing about kids. Really, they you think they're thinking it a whole another way, but they're really not. It's just they ask it and then they just go and play. But let me tell you, I do miss the simple questions, and with that I will leave you until next time, and thank you for watching and supporting me, and all my love to you guys.